Welcome to part 2 of my Bob Ross Seascape painting, loosely based on one called Island Paradise. Now, this is an important part. Remove the excess paint from the eye of the wave before you carry on. I see so many people get this wrong and they kind of fighting with all the colour that's there, and I just use my finger to just smooth down the paint, just rub out some excess. Now let's mix up some of that lovely warm primrose colour we want for this eye. I'm going to take some clean titanium white and a little bit of cad yellow, and I'm just going to blend this together, mix it well. And I'm looking for a soft primrose yellow colour, so not vibrant yellow, but not too white either, so something with a little bit of colour to it. That looks about right. And I'm going to use a filbert brush. Load it well on both sides, and let's get to the painting. Now, I'm going to hold my brush flat to the canvas, and I'm really just going to smoosh this paint in, but I'm going to leave a little shadow line. So notice just above the eye of the wave there's a little gap between my sketch and this lovely vibrant limey green colour. That's a little shadow line that I'm going to be using later on, and I don't want to lose it. I want to keep that little shadow line there. And notice how I work away from the brightest part at the top of the wave. If I need to reload, I give my brush a good dry clean, get a little more paint, and then go right to that top again. But I never go to the top of the wave with a dirty brush. You'll just make everything a little bit cloudy and muddy. Now use a clean dry 1-inch brush for this next stage. You're going to be blending this eye of the wave, and you're going to do it just like we did with the cloud. Just use the very corner, just a few hairs just on the tip there, and you're going to go in and give this a nice little twirl. Now I shifted my camera a bit so you get a better angle on this, but literally you're going to go in with just a few little hairs, just tickle it. And the idea is you want to blend the top brightest part of the eye first, and stay up there blending for a few moments, and then slowly work your way down and across the eye of the wave. Knock off excess paint on a paper towel, but once you start picking up the blue colour, don't go back to the top of the wave again. You'll just muddy it all up and you won't have the lovely vibrant colour we're looking for. So blend, blend, blend. Make it lovely and soft. Look at that. Wow. I never tire of doing this. It's just so much fun just to watch that wave burst into life, that lovely glow of colour. And if you want to see your own waves, go to the beach or have a look at some video of waves and try and spot the eye of the wave. Even in little waves you'll see a lovely eye of the wave. Time to look at this part of the wave, the crash on the left hand side, and we have to allow a little bit of room for a little bit of foam. So I'm going to just show you where that's going to be. I use the end of my brush just to make a little bit of a loopy stroke, and the crash is to the left of this, so it comes over and just drops. So that's where we're going to go next. And I'm going to use my fan brush with a nice amount of white paint, and you're just going to travel along that top edge and start with a little bit of pressure, give it a little push, and just let the brush drop. Just leave all those strands of paint, don't touch it, you'll kind of undo all that lovely work, and add another stroke. Now you'll need to reload fairly frequently for this, and again just overlap the previous stroke, go along the top, and there we go. I like to make the sound effects, but you don't have to, but it's just kind of fun, isn't it? And again, reload and overlap the last brush stroke a little bit. Now notice how quickly I come off the canvas. I just start the stroke and then lift away. I want to save a lot of shadow, and as you go along you want this to get a little more blue in the stroke. So there we go, let the brush just run out and save all this lovely shadow in here. We're going to put some more foam in that area. So this is just a fun way of doing it, but if you want to go back you can just add a little touch here and there, but be super gentle with this. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue over the top, just smooth them down a little bit, and you're done. Don't touch it again. This is the little gap I've left for the foam. So between that little mark I'm making and the edge of that little dark outline I left. Now then, I'm going to use some of that mauve cloud mixture and add a little more white to it. I want a sort of a purpley grey colour here, so Not too much colour in this. It wants to be fairly pale. And just adjust your colours as you need. I'm just going to use my filbert brush, and right in that gap, this is where I'm going to do some little circles, just like painting a cloud, little letter C's. And it's going to go right down beside the eye of the wave, and it's going to fill that little gap I left. There you go. It's going to squeeze in there and take it down the other side as well. Now, one thing to remember is brushes like to be led, so you can see my handle's going first and my bristles are following. Brushes don't like to be pushed across the canvas, and as you can see, I'm always leading with the handle, and just build up a nice bit of a grey shadow in here. And it doesn't have to be straight, it can be a little bit wobbly. There you go, up and down a little bit. And I'm going to take it down right to the floor of the wave. That's that little line we drew, that's the one just there. So this foam sits on top of the beach. The floor of the wave is where the beach is. And you see I'm just stirring it in. I'm picking up a little bit of the blue-green colour that we started with, and I'm just incorporating that into this shadow. But notice I'm staying away from the little crash we created. Time to add the foam, and for this I'm using my fan brush, and I've really loaded it well with some nice clean titanium white. And I'm going to use just the corner of my fan brush. I just want to go in and tickle the canvas, and just want to bridge the gap between just on the edge of that shadow we just put in, and just go down through that little gap I left and just stir it into the top. So yep, stay away from that part. Just going down through that little gap. And again, because this is a freshly loaded brush and it's nice and bright, it stands out against the crash that has a little blue in it. So sometimes you see there is a method to my madness. Sometimes I add a little tint of colour because I know what's coming next. But these are little things you'll learn as you paint your own Bob Ross seascapes. Just sort of follow it down and try and avoid the edge of that crash. Just let the brush dance. Top tip here, don't start pushing too hard at the top. You don't want the crest of this wave to get too big. Remember, the water's going over to the left and crashing down. It's not jumping off the top of the wave above the eye. Okay, and just keep adding foam. Time to blend the foam and its shadow together. And for this I'm going to use a filbert brush. I'm going to give it a quick dry clean on a bit of paper towel, get it nice and clean, and I want to just blend between the foam and the shadow. I could use a 1-inch brush, but well, it's just a bit on the big side, and with this I can sneak into that little gap and just touch and blend, pull one into the other, pull a little bit of the white into the shadow and some of the shadow up into the white, and leave this looking nice and sort of irregularly mixed. You don't want to make it look too over blended, so up and down, that's it, little circular strokes up and down, carry a little bit of white down, carry a little bit of shadow up, and easy as that, suddenly our wave starts to look three-dimensional. I usually leave it to the end to put in final highlights, but as we're on this part of the wave, I'm just going to go back in with the corner of my fan brush and just add a little bit of extra sparkle here and there. So just give it a little push, just with the tip of the brush, add a little bit of splash and crash. There. Again, you could do this with a little liner brush, but I find the edge of the fan brush really great. Just let it kind of break apart, and you can add all these little tiny speckles of detail. And there's a lovely piece of shadow in here, and we could use that to add yet another layer of foam and splash to our painting. So saving the shadow is key. You really don't want to just pile the white on. Add a little, blend it, then add a little more, and suddenly you've got several layers of foam. And I'll give this a little blend as well, but only here and there. Just be very, very sort of gentle with this. Don't overblend it. And there we go. Suddenly we've got lots of foam. Over here on the right, I want to give the impression that my wave is already starting to crash over and collapse a little bit. So I'm just going to let my brush really run wild. Let it pick up a lot of the blue-green colour we started with. I might try and just sort of let the paint just do its own thing a bit more. It's not really where I'm looking at in my painting, the eye of the wave. That's on the little hot spot. And this is just kind of the, if you think of it like the chorus line, it's the main wave. That's the lead singer, but this is just supporting cast. So go in here and stir in a little shadow and just tease it around a little bit. But again, don't overdo it. There's lots of amazing detail in there if you don't blend it too much. Add a little extra splash here and there, but again, don't take your attention too far away from the main part, which is the eye of the wave. So just here and there on the parts of the wave that might catch a ray of light from the setting sun. Now let's turn our attention to this part of the wave, the eye and all the lovely foamy effects. We have to remember that this wave is rising, and on the face of it there's all that lovely foam that comes off the beach. Every time a wave crashes it leaves a residual foam, and that's being picked up and then thrown back onto the beach by the next wave. So this is the foam from a previous wave, and I'm just using the tip of my filbert brush and just a little bit of that shadow colour here, because remember again, this wave is casting a shadow on the beach. The sun is behind it and low on the horizon, so all of this is in shadow. The eye of the wave is light coming from behind and making the water transparent and see-through. So all of this has to be toned right down. Keep it under sort of not too bright, and think about those little patterns chasing up the face of the wave. There we go. Now mine looks a little bit stripy, so take a step back and maybe make some little adjustments. Now in part one I mentioned about light paths, and that's the path the light would take from the background across the tops of the waves, through the eye of the wave, and then onto the beach. So eventually this little shadowy colour I'm using, I want it to get a little bit brighter. So you'll see in a little while that I'll add some little bright touches to this foam on the beach. Quite often the foam that's actually on the face of the wave could actually be inside the water. And I'm going to use a dry clean 1-inch brush, and I'm going to just gently follow the shape of my wave and just press, give it a little bit of a flick. Careful now, don't pick up any paint. I nearly went into the eye wave, didn't I? Nearly made a mess. And give it a little push and just press that painting. See how it kind of pushes it down into the water effect we're looking for? Again, don't overdo this. And I'm just trying to push that suggestion of foam into the water. That's it, curve it round. And those little light rays are going to go through that wave. So that green part of my wave is going to cast a little beam of light across here. That's going to be slightly greenish in colour. That's my light part. So right there, that's where I'm going to put in my little zingers, my little bright foamy effects on the beach. So always remember that light likes to follow a straight line if it can. So from the background, through the wave, and onto the beach. And it's just a lovely little detail. See if you can include that in some of your wave paintings in future. There we go. I'm going to use my 1-inch brush, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of some of this dirty white colour here, just a little bit on the brush, and I'm going to use this to make that sort of wet look on the beach. So this is again a freshly loaded brush with a little bit of paint. So follow the light rays through, and just about there, press and pull straight down. See, I'm using firm pressure, really pushing into the canvas. I want to give this the wet look, so I want to make it look like it's got a sheen of light across it. Now I'm going to use my palette knife and clean that out of the way a little bit and get some of this contaminated white paint. Just really spread it down smooth and flat. I want to get a little roll of paint. See, I slide up, get a little even roll of paint, just small, and back onto my canvas. Here I want to create a little kind of foamy edge to my waves. I'm going to go in and just along that edge there, you want to go just above that sheen of light on the beach and really push into the canvas and just let the paint break. So let it kind of peel out the toe of the brush. Just press and let the knife slide. Press and slide. And you see I'm going from up and I'm going down at a very shallow diagonal. There we go. And I'm leaving just a little thin bead of paint on the painting. Just then again, press and slide along. See how that leaves a fat edge of paint that just looks like foam rolling up the beach. It's a fabulous little technique. And then behind it, there's those little broken edges of paint. Just with the tip of the filbert here, just grab those little edges and pull it back into the painting. Remember, this beach is flat, so all your brush strokes must go fairly level, fairly flat, not up towards the wave at the background. That's maybe 20-30 feet back into the distance of your painting. So you're going to go back with flat strokes. Make sure you get these angles right. There. It really brings it all together lovely. Smashing. Now, time for the big reveal and disaster. My masking tape is tearing off the gesso, black and grey gesso that I put on my canvas, and it's just leaving a nasty edge. I need a cunning plan to fix this. So let's see what I come up with. I think I could grow the seascape a little. Let's give that a try. So here's my escape route. Ta-da! Never know, would you? From a disaster to a repair. Paintings are definitely a roller coaster of emotions, from highs to lows in a split second. But never give up. There's always a solution, there's always a fix. Years of experience painting classes has taught me to think on my feet sometimes and just take a few moments just to reconsider how to get out of some problems. And over time, you'll also see that there are always options. Never despair. Paintings just need a little more love sometimes. Now, let's pull this all together. And I think I need to do something with that area on the left. Still looking a little bit crabby. Sorry, my seascape jokes never get any better. Time to paint a nice rock, and I'm going to use some Van Dyke brown and a little bit of black, and I'm going to just blend those together. I want a nice deep dark colour to underpaint my rock, something nice and sticky and brown. There we go. And now palette knife, filbert brush, mixture of the two. Let's start with a knife. I got a little roll of paint and I'm just going to press this in to the canvas. Just press it on, and I'm just looking to add a lovely dark shadow here. So this is just textured paint, and it's just like buttering a piece of toast. It's with chocolate brown paint, and really just press it in. You want to just stain the canvas. Now it was a little bit on the short side, so I'm going to grow it a little bit higher. Take it up and maybe just nibble into my foam a little bit, but don't overdo it. Keep some of that foam showing, and that's it. Now highlights. Cad yellow, phthalo green, throw a little Van Dyke brown into it, maybe a little bit of red, dark sienna. But see how marbled mix it is? It's really a jumble of colours, and I'm going to use my filbert brush, just dip in where I want. So I'm not going to just have one flat colour. That's it. Grab a little bit and think about the area of the rock facing the sun. That's going to catch the light first. And everywhere to the left of it, it's going to be casting shadow. So just lightly hold the brush, just gently, and just let it bump. So super light grip. See, I'm holding it in my finger and thumb, and little rolls of paint. Just let the brush bump across the canvas. That's the secret of painting good rocks. Don't hold the brush or the palette knife too tight. Let's keep on adding little suggestions of highlight. Bright to the right, shadows to the left. There. And again, little bits of green now, maybe bits of algae and seaweed stuck to it. And I'm going to drop in a little waterline at the base of it. Again, just a little roll of paint. And this pushes that little piece of rock back into the painting. And now I can bring this piece of rock forwards. And see, I trapped a little shadow between the two layers of rock to indicate distance and a rock close to. Lots of little visual tricks here, lots of little tips to help you paint better Bob Ross seascapes. So I'm hoping you're enjoying all of these little pointers and tips and watching me make my mistakes, and that you'll not make the same mistakes as well. If you've enjoyed watching me paint this little seascape and want to see some more, don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the little bell. Now, a signature. But what's that I hear you say? There's something missing. I can't think what. No, it's finished. Okay, I hear you. It needs a seagull. So here we go. Paint one little eyebrow. Here's another little eyebrow. And where they cross over, that's where the body is. So don't paint those McDonald birds, those M's. Just paint two little eyebrows, then a a little bit of a line underneath. And there he is. You just have a body and two wings, and you can change the angle. So slant that little eyebrow down a bit more, and maybe put a little eyebrow going on, a little bit more of a jaunty angle. There we go. So seagulls are easy. They're just eyebrows. If you missed part 1, here's a link to it down below, and if you want to subscribe, here's the button on the right. Happy painting, people!